You're listening to the Desert Moon Hockey Podcast with Matt and Rich.
Welcome back to another episode of the Desert Moon Hockey Podcast, episode 47, I do believe, even though Richie just told me and I have terrible memory. And I just want to say, happy Super Bowl Sunday to everyone, but really happy Sunday morning to every American that was there at the Mullet last night singing the national anthem after a joke about being drunk and going down on your wife. That was definitely a thing that happened and I experienced, and it is certainly a thing that only happens in America.
Oh, all right. I don't know if I should press you any further about why somebody was making was it like the singer?
Bert Kreischer? The Machine!
Oh, all right.
He's at the Mullet for 4 straight nights, and I'm sitting there in the shop because I was stuck getting a slice of pizza on the first day. That I think it was Wednesday show. Every day this week has been blended together, but it took me like 15 minutes to get that slice of pizza. So I got to listen to the opening act. He was pretty funny, and then other than that, I was just kind of stuck in the office or doing whatever, going here and there. So you really can't hear the show. Like in my shop, the side that I sit on, my desk is at, you can't really hear anything. You go to the other side, you can hear pretty clearly. So I only got to hear very small bits. But I always heard them singing at the end of the night the national anthem, and I couldn't figure out why. I needed the context. So I was like, hey, are we all good? Making sure, call them on the work. I'm like, hey, if you guys need me, call me. So I went upstairs just to walk around the bowl just so I could watch the ending of the show. And it was literally, the setup was like his top 5 most drunk of all time. And it was like, number 1 was he was drunk going down on his wife. And it took him 10 minutes to realize that she was wearing leggings. And then he started singing, I think it's like America the Brave. And then everyone started singing the national anthem after. So that was the context that I waited 3 nights for. It was a going down on your wife joke while drunk. Setting up the national anthem. So yeah, there you go. That was the context, and it was funny. I very much enjoyed that.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you had a good time. I'm assuming you didn't go as a attendee or working, but at least you got to listen for the most part, yeah?
Yeah, listen to a little bit, obviously. It wasn't like I get to watch the show, but it's like at that point I was like, hey, I'm going to find an excuse to just go walk around, and there you go, so I can listen to some of it, and there you go. I got the context I needed, and it was definitely a thing.
Gotcha.
So anyway, let's move away from comedians and going down on your wife. Let's talk about the Arizona Coyotes. Let's go ahead and talk about this massive news that came out last night and how I'm in trouble on Twitter.
Oh, how are you in trouble on Twitter?
I'm afraid to look at my mentions because I did it twice in the same week. The first one was the fake Bruins trade, just because I was memeing. And then the second one was because the Coyotes announced, and it was on their official PR Twitter account. I think it was Bill Armstrong's burner. I was like, oh, if this account isn't real or whatever. I'm like, dog, no, that is the real, genuine account. I followed them for years before the whole, business accounts get orange check marks and whatever. Like, that's the real account. Yep. And they actually said they are scratching him for trade-related reasons. Now, Of course, Craig Morgan, very reserved, a knowledgeable individual on this stuff, said he doesn't think a trade is imminent, but that's a sign that the final stages of a trade are moving. Like, hey, he's probably going to get moved. We're going to pull him. We're not going to risk an injury. So even if it takes a couple of days, which I am going to say, I say within 72 or 48 hours the trade's done. Not like immediately, but it will get done in a couple of days. Yeah. So that's probably what that means. Hey, the trade is going to be finalized, pretty soon. There's a couple last suitors, a couple last offers. Let's reserve the asset. That is the time when you reserve your asset, by the way. You don't sit him for 3 months and then not play him and then his value goes down. No, you play him until the trade is where you want it, and then you're like, okay, we're pulling him so he doesn't get hurt.
Yeah, so. especially when you guys were just about to play a back-to-back, and the second team in that back-to-back was the St. Louis Blues, who are pretty big, pretty physical, It makes sense. Like, no point in risking an injury, especially with a guy who's made of fiberglass, so...
we can't be trash talking him on the way out. Come on now.
I mean, that's not trash talking. I still have my sign saying that do not trade for Chychrun, and even I will admit that the guy was made of glass because he couldn't stay healthy. Like, that's just the truth. And I still love him, and if he for some reason doesn't get traded, I'm still happy that he's on the team. But you can't deny the fact that, you know, not finishing a single full 82 season, you know, that is worrisome, shall we say.
Yeah, you're not wrong, but he has so much upside on the ice that you should still give us 2 firsts and Matthew Nyes. Just saying. But anyway,
Yeah.
so, you know, while Craig Morgan's a little more reserved, and yes, that means the trade's probably at least a couple of days away, like not imminent. I decided to run with it because you know me, I am the embodiment of pure chaos, and I like to have a little bit of fun. And the first one was, I think it involved Brennan Carlo. I forget, that was when they were playing Minnesota. And it was just because I picked Boston, and then I grabbed a random defenseman that was making right around the same amount of money, and then I threw in like Oscar Steen and Michael DiPietro, I think, was on their system. So I'm like, hey, those are a couple decent young players, I guess. I'll throw them on there. And apparently I messed up and everyone was mad at me. Then this one was purposeful because so many Leafs fans make terrible trade offers. And you were the one who tweeted out that one bad offer that Leafs fans were mad about. And I'm like, you can laugh all you want, but that's literally what your Chychrun trades are. So I took all this. Yep. That I jumped on the Chychrun scratch news, and I'm like, it's what did I say? It was Kerfoot, Hull, and something else. Voigt, their prospect Voigt, and a conditional 2023 first. And right underneath that, I put the condition was if they make it out of the first round, it becomes 2027 second.
Yep.
And the amount of people that didn't realize that was a joke.
Yep. They were like super excited. They thought that you were like some insider, and then like they didn't even see that you're making fun of them for getting out of the first round.
Because I'm pretty sure not only would that never be a thing, because you would never stipulate a first going down to a second like that, but I'm pretty sure if you click on my profile and it's like sarcastic, I meme too much, maybe, just maybe.
Yep. Yeah, people are dumb. I don't know how else to say it. People are dumb. I want to talk a little bit about people that are dumb. I almost got into a fight at the Mold Arena on, oh God, when was this, Sunday? I don't remember. It was it was the last home game before we went on the road. Yeah, it was quite a spectacle against the Wild. That's what it was. It was this person was leaving, and they thought that my dad had hit their car with my car door, and everybody was like, what the F is going on? Like, in our car, we were so confused. Like, this lady was literally screaming at us and just swearing and whatnot, and we're just like, dude, what is wrong with you? And, you know, she's like, you hit my effing car, like screaming at us. And so her dad, what I presume, is like sitting in the passenger seat, and then he starts like trash talking, and my dad starts trash talking him, and so all of a sudden her dad gets out of the car and it starts like pounding on our car window, like telling my dad to get out to like fight him. And I'm just like, bro, like, what is even going on here? Like, this happened in like the span of like 5 seconds. And so she gets out of her car, and she's like checking the damage on her car, and there's no damage. There's none. There's not even a scratch. And so she's pushing her dad, like, we get back in the car, and then he starts like pounding on the car. I'm like, bro, like, this is my car. And so like, I was pretty mad at that point, and I just wanted them to leave. So I get out of my car, and, you know, I'm pointing to him like, get the F back in your car. You know, I'm screaming at him to get back in his car because I don't want him to damage my car. You know, I'm not trying to flex or anything, but I come at this with honesty. I have a wrap on my car. It's a very expensive wrap. It's close to $4,000, and this stuff it rips like tissue paper. Like that's how like fragile a wrap is. And if you're gonna hit somebody with your car door, like my wrap would be all over their car, because it's literally like tissue paper. And so I'm just like confused. Like I don't even see any damage. And so I shouted at their dad to get back in the car, and like he turns around and like scampers kind of away, like he realized that he's in a losing battle when I'm kind of a lot taller than everybody else in that situation. I'm 6'1", and all of a sudden I hear a voice to my left, and this person's like, you think just because you're tall that you can fight people? And I literally sorry for the audio listeners, you're not gonna be able to see it. I literally turned like 90 degrees, don't see anyone, and then look down, and there's somebody there. And I was just like, what? Like, I was so confused because I'm just trying to like get people in their cars and leave. Like I'm not looking for a fight. Like leave me alone. And he's like, he says it again, and he like points to like how tall I am. He's like, you think just because you're tall that you can fight? And I look at the other two are wearing Wild jerseys, and he's wearing a Coyotes jersey. And I'm like, bro, are you really going to do this? Like, we're both Coyotes fans here. You're going to like really start talking trash to me. And he's like, you think just because you're rich, you can do anything? And I'm like, I don't want to do anything. I want people to leave me alone. Like, that's what I'm thinking in my head. I'm like confused. Like, why is this dude trash talking me? And, of course he's like still insinuating. He's like, come on, do it then. Do it. Let's see what you can do, or something like that, like just trash talking, like to get me to throw the first punch. And I turn and look, and we're trying to leave the arena. Everybody is like in a line, so there's just cars going by, and these people have their phones out recording us and like and are watching. And I turn and look. I'm like, are you really sure that you want to do this right now? You have an audience. Like, do you really want to do this? Because like I'm towering over this dude. Like he throws a punch, he's not winning. I'm not gonna start it, but I'm sure as hell gonna end it. And like after he realized that he's being recorded, he like turns and also kind of scampers away back into his car. They're like honking their horn and like cutting people off to try to get out, and they like are trying their best to like essentially peel out of the situation. And come to find out, like I own a Tesla, so it's recording 24/7, and I have the recording of the full incident. We didn't even touch their car. She was screaming, I heard you hit my car at the beginning. Yet when I go to check the footage, we didn't touch their car. There's not even a like dink. It's literally not even hit. And come to find out, like, these people are, I'm not going to dox them, but they in some facet work for the Coyotes. And I'm like, bro, you're going to act like that to season ticket holders, and you weren't even in the right. Like, are you serious? So I messaged them. I messaged the person on Facebook, and then he blocked me. He didn't respond. So I hope he feels stupid, because I sent him screenshots of us not hitting their car.
You towered over that dude, but look, as a fellow short guy, I don't understand the Napoleon complex of like,
yeah, there's
you
very
see
much
a tall guy and you want to go like, look, if you held your arm out, I couldn't get a punch in on you. So why would I want to start something knowing that like that is the factor? It's not, oh hey, you tried to punch my girlfriend or something. Like that's a different story. But you're just standing there and like walking up to someone who towers over you is stupid.
Yeah, or if I get out of my car and I'm trying to like start something, I'm like, let's go then. Like I'm screaming at them, like trying to, provoke. That's the word.
Yeah.
Trying to provoke stuff. Like, yeah, then I can understand where he's coming at. But literally, they're in the wrong in every facet of this situation. You good?
I just got a notification. I don't know why my ad blocker is sending me notices. I've blocked over 118,000 ads apparently.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
online, my God.
There you go. But yeah, it was, dude. It was such a spectacle. I was like, what is even going on here? Yeah. Moral of the story is, don't try to fight people when you don't even have the full context and you didn't even get out of your car to look at the damage before you started trash talking somebody. All that could have been avoided.
Customized jersey with a name that is not a player's name on it that makes you very easy to track. Because if I didn't delete my text at least once every other day, because I like to clean stuff up, I would also have this person's information.
Yep. Yeah, so if you somehow get to this information, you know who you are. I'm not going to dox you, and I'm not going to ruin your life because there's no need for that. But just be aware, I do have the footage, and I will release it if you try to go after my car in the garage. My car is very easy to see. It's very obvious who I am. Just because of that, and if you try to damage my car in any way, I will 100% go after you. So do not even think about it.
Desert Moon is starting fights now. Damn.
Yeah, Desert Moon is starting fights.
I agree with you. I agree with you because you're not again you're not doxing or setting it out. You're not even saying you're gonna just like cuz, but it's like yeah. It's good to know that people are so stupid they don't realize there's cameras everywhere, and especially look. I've been to your house. I'm pretty sure there's not an inch of that place that doesn't have a camera. And Teslas always have cameras that are always recording. And when I'm around Teslas, I'm uncomfortable anyway. So if I was really gonna mess around and find out, as someone who worked at Carvana, and the footage was the reason why employees got in trouble for wrecking a Tesla.
Yep.
And they tried to say I looked guilty because me and a coworker, he was teaching me how to drive manual because at the end of the shift, nothing else to do. And then we heard the commotion. I recorded footage and then I gave it to the superiors. Like, that makes you look guilty. I'm like, how does that make me look guilty? I literally gave you more evidence.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to record myself at the scene of a crime.
That sounds about right. But anyways, Coyotes fans, instead of losing your minds, moral of the story is get out of your car, check to see if there's even any damage first. And if you're going to see damage on your car, come at it with politeness and say, hey, you just hit my car, and everything would have been taken care of. Instead of yelling and screaming at people. What?
It sounds like a setup for fraud.
No, I think they were probably drunk, if I were to guess. And then it would have been real awkward if I would have called the cops and the cops go, hey, why are you drunk? And you're driving this vehicle. Oh,
we're getting into the danger zone because now, watch, one of our listeners was there and was one of the ones recording it. Watch.
Yeah, maybe.
It's small world. It's where we all live on a college campus together.
Yep. Ultimately, that's not my responsibility. I'm not going to dox them myself, but if they get doxed in other means, I guess don't act like a jackass. That's the moral.
What is the old motto? F around, find out. There's a direct correlation. Anyway, so back to the Chychrun stuff. We got very off topic, but that was entertaining. And it was like the next day, he's like, hey, so we got a little drama for you. And I got that story, I think on that Monday. But I'm like, ooh, do tell. Anyway, so the Jakob Chychrun stuff. He gets scratched last night. The Coyotes still find a way to come back from a 3-goal deficit to go to overtime and lose because players don't tank. Clayton Keller gets his, 300th point. Him and Schmaltz are tearing it up. I think Kells had 3 points. Valimaki had his first career multi-point game. There's a lot of positive stuff there, and the loss because we still want to keep going lower in the standings. Yep. But with the Chychrun stuff, this trade has to be getting done soon.
Yeah,
Like,
I'd presume so.
And there's that. I forget his name. You might know from Hockey Night in Canada, and it was like, oh, so that means that Toronto's out, Edmonton's out. All that he said was that if he contacted Edmonton and Toronto, and they both said that's not us.
Yeah.
And then L.A. said something similar on "He Who Shall Not Be Named's statue and jersey retirement night."
Yeah.
Of course, they would say no. The trade could literally be done, and they would still be like, we're not announcing this on the same day as this. Like, that's, our former captain, multi-Stanley Cup champion, we're not doing that.
And there's also, like, at any point, somebody could come in with a real offer. Like, they could say they're out, and then they're in. Like, people aren't going to play their hand. They're not going to be like, oh, yeah, we really want Chychrun. We're really committed to him. Like, no, if you're Edmonton, right, and you're Holland, you're not going, yeah, we desperately need Chychrun in our lineup. Like, no, you're going to play your cards close to your chest, of course. He's not sure if this is a bait, if this is real, what's going on and why he was held out of the lineup for trade reasons, as the PR account posted. So
it's so out there. They literally just said for trade reasons.
Yeah, that's why it does make me suspect if maybe this is a bait. It could be, because usually, like, you never see held out for trade reason, right? Like, that's...
Well, at the same time, because it was reported that I think it was Toronto and Edmonton had stepped up offers.
Yeah.
And then they're both like, oh, it isn't us. Like, that tells me, again, you're playing your cards close, but also if there's multiple reports, you're the one stepping up an offer. It's like, oh, okay then. So now there's two teams right there that might have gotten one of them to throw in an extra asset. Might have got one of them throwing a higher quality asset, or it might be like, oh, now there's three teams, so there's a fourth team. It's like, let's say, I'm just going to pick a random team. I'm going to pick on Columbus. Let's say Columbus is like, you know what, we can really use him for this rebuild. That's a really good defenseman. And these teams are in on him. We have more assets than you. Here's Kent Johnson. I don't know their prospects. I'm just throwing a random name. Don't attack me. I don't want another Boston Bruins situation on Twitter, but... a team could do that. Like, oh, hey, we could outdo that. Oh, hey, we could. That's a really nice piece. Here you go. So it's. I heavily suspect it'll be done by what, Tuesday. I would be shocked if we're talking on Wednesday without a Chychrun trade.
Yeah, I would be surprised too. I hope it comes fairly quick. I doubt it'll come today because of the Super Bowl. I think everybody's going to take a pause. Everybody's going to take a break from the game and,
the deal
go watch.
Could literally be done. They just probably won't file it until after the Super Bowl because they would get no coverage.
Yeah, maybe. That could be the case.
Oh, and also, if you're watching this in the future, the Eagles won by a final score of 27-17.
If you're watching this in the future, I watched a total of 0 seconds of the Super Bowl because the Super Bowl is lame, and I haven't watched it for over a decade.
My wife asked me at like 6:20 this morning. She's like, "Oh, do you want to go to? Are you gonna watch the game tonight?" I have no interest. She has family from the Midwest, from Missouri, so they're going for Kansas City. And then she's like, "Oh, because we were invited to a Super Bowl party," and it feels like I haven't had a day off in 2 weeks. I know it's only been like 4 days, it's just been weird, hours. But like I haven't had a day off in a while, so I'm like, I'm gonna sit on my ass today. And also today's kind of a content day anyway, so it's like I gotta get at least a couple videos out. So. I know, unless I feel like getting drunk, but the game starts at like 4:30 or something. So, if you're buying me Red Bull, I have some lemon vodka in there. Let's get it going.
Yep. Well, good for you. I'm going to not do anything, and I'm not going to watch that game because football is lame. So,
Richie's going to be sitting there naked on the couch thinking, all right, so can we pull off Brant Clark, or if we settle for Byfield, can we get like an extra second? Like that's what you're gonna be just sitting there doing all day.
True. All
right, so are we done with the Chychrun talk, or do you want to get into what you're looking for out of this trade realistically? Because now that we have what has basically been confirmed to be a bidding war, whether it's a light bidding war or things are wrapping up like as we speak, Bill Armstrong is getting on the phone with one GM, putting the phone down and picking up for another, and they're doing
Yeah.
that for the next 10 hours or whatever. Whether that's
Yep.
the case or it's just it's a light bidding war. A couple guys are getting a little more serious, but not that serious. What do you think is the realistic call, and where do you think he goes? Not my gut. I'm guessing LA because they have the assets without us needing to take a bad contract. Though I think we have to regardless because of the cap floor.
It's hard. So the thing is like, I think that there's going to be a team that doesn't have cap space that is going to come in on this the last second. I feel, I don't know why, but I just feel like with our cap situation and how we really need to get to the cap floor and not get penalized, something just screams to me, a team going in on it that is going to drop a contract off, whether that's the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think that's a very real possibility. Moving Muzzin out, maybe getting Nyes in a first. I don't know ultimately what you're going to get assets wise. I do think that Nyes is valued at like a first round asset, even though he was drafted in the second. I think
With how well he's playing.
he's playing really well. So I think like a Nyes, a first and like a second would get it done. Do you take a bad contract of a player that's never going to play for nothing? I think you might. So because you only have to pay 10% of that LTIR contract, I think
they're allowed to go on LTIR because if you're under the cap floor.
Well, yeah.
That's why Andrew Ladd's on regular IR, but I think you still pay a lesser portion of IR contracts as well. There's a system where like LTIR, I think like you said, it's like 10%, and I think IR it's partially covered by it.
Yeah.
So you're still getting a lesser charge.
That is correct. I am wrong in that situation, but you would still get less of it, less that you would have to pay. They're going to do that absolutely because they have to spend $68 million some way, but technically you can get under that $68 million by putting something on IR. Monetarily speaking, you only have to monetarily pay, $62 million or something like that, whatever.
And also you can get a contract with a high cap hit that's ending. That was from the old era of it's backloaded and you're only making $1 million. So it's like even if you're just gonna healthy scratch them, you're only paying them $1 million. So there's ways to do it, and there's ways like I know I forget which contract recently the league rejected and told them to balance out the money more because they were tired of the front-loaded or back-loaded contract. So that would be an example of a front-loaded contract. The back end is really cheap, like a Marian Hossa type contract. So the league was tired of that, so that's why you can't sign those anymore. But there's still a couple of contracts like that sniffing around.
Yeah. Yep. And I think that you could see that happen in this trade. Now, if it's an active player with a high cap hit, I do think that you're going to see some sort of extra asset that's going to have to go in order to get this done. I do think that the original offseason demand that we saw was 3 first-round assets. I don't think you're going to see that. I think it's going to be probably 2 first-round assets and a second-round asset. Once again, in like the terms of Nyes, I don't think he's a second round asset. I think he's a first round asset. But I do think that that's what we're going to see trade wise. There's tons of names on this list. Obviously, you have the Oilers who desperately need a player like that, but they have a GM who is old and refuses to let go of his first round pick this year. So good luck. You could see a guy like Shane Gostisbehere end up with the Oilers, though. I think that could absolutely happen.
Because that would only take a second round pick, and the Coyotes would be willing to retain. The one thing I don't like is the people that are like, oh, the Coyotes need to retain on Chychrun. Screw off. No, Chychrun already has a phenomenal cap hit. No, that's not happening.
Yeah.
If you're doing that, I want an additional first round asset. You're not getting anything for cheap when it comes to something like that. But Ghost is an expiring rental. Those are the guys you always retain on. That's perfectly acceptable. And the thing is, with Chychrun getting all his interest from teams that want to go all in, with bolstering their defense for the playoffs, but also having that asset for the future, Ghost has a completely different purpose in this market. best way to say it. Because, hey, he's a rental. We can bring him back if we want. We don't have to if we don't want to. He will be cheaper. He's a little older, but he's more proven. He will be cheaper, or maybe a second-round pick. And there you go. You can get it done and bolster your lineup. And then if you do want to send back a bad contract, turn that second into a first. And with that, I don't even care if it's a 2023 protected, because then regardless, we're getting one at least by 2024.
Yep.
I don't think that would be a bad thing at all. And considering the fact that would mean Ghost is... Was it 2 seconds, or was it a second and a seventh he was traded? Like, they traded to get him over here. Because it was 2 draft picks.
I'll look it up. I don't remember, but yeah, it was interesting because we're going to get probably another second for him. So ultimately, getting 2 seconds out of a player for free is going to be pretty crazy. We got a second and a seventh. 2022 second, 2022 seventh.
So we got paid to take him. So anything we flip on him is a profit. Chychrun, you have a lot more invested. You need to get the maximum value. Gostisbehere, you can't afford to just, here's a second round pick, take the player.
Yep.
Because you're literally doubling your value on him.
Yep.
And we're just talking about him as an asset. Ghost would never watch our crap little podcast, but we love you here, Ghost, but we know you're not going to be here in the future. We're just talking about the asset that is Shane Gostisbehere.
Yeah, expiring contracts, it makes sense to get whatever you can for him. And a second, I think you're going to be more than pleased to get for him. I don't know if you heard that. My stomach just screamed.
I did not, but
okay.
Do you think it still makes sense? Because I actually thoroughly agree with this. Do you think it makes sense to package Ghost with Bukestad? Because a lot of teams could use that middle six bolster.
Yeah.
Because he can play fourth if you need him to. All right, he's played bottom six before, but he has shown he can still be a top sixer. And yes, he's playing top six in the Coyotes, but he's still playing against NHL talent, and he's still playing well against NHL talent with players that most people are now starting to understand Krause's value. I'll get into that in just a couple of seconds. And I'll keep the individual's name out of it, but I do want to have that as an example. But you're playing with essentially nobodies. From the league perspective, you're playing with nobodies and you're still producing as well as he is. That can bolster any contender, and that's a very reasonable cap hit. You have him with Ghost, a couple teammates, bolster your defense. You're probably gonna have Ghost play second line or second pair, then you're gonna have Bukestad play second or third line center. Right there, your team is already better, and that's gonna cost you a total of a first, because that's 2 second round at trades in my opinion, because Bukestad's playing well enough to get a second.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen just because Holland refuses to part ways with his first. But
that's what I'm saying, it's essentially a first. You can do 2 seconds. I don't care about how you do it, but you're essentially getting a first out of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say is I do see a really good fit with a Bukestad Ghost trade to the Oilers for a first. I think that would absolutely shore up any holes in that lineup. That adds really good depth. You have a centerman who absolutely can play big minutes, and is a big guy. He can be physical. He's got hands. He's still really fast. I really like Bukestad from a fan perspective. Even if he gets traded, I would absolutely love to see him back with the Coyotes next year, because he's been a joy to watch.
I'm not gonna lie, I'll say it right here. Let's just say he does get traded, but decides he wants to come back. I wouldn't mind, depending on the cap hit. You have to be very conservative with it. I wouldn't mind giving him a 3 or 4 year deal to be with this team for their rebuild, because I think that's a phenomenal veteran for this team. I think he's good for the locker room, good for the young players.
I would do 3, but not 4. I could see a 3, just because once again it lines up with when those entry level contracts will be up for the Coyotes. We've talked about this numerously in the past. It'll line up with that, so I could see synergy there with a 3-year contract. Even if he tapers off, it's fine. We have money that we have to spend to. Remember, guys, we have to spend to. It's not, oh, well, that's a waste of money. No, we have to spend it.
And also, if the cap goes up, the floor goes up too.
Yeah.
So it's they both scale up. It's one of the things that makes the the NHL hard cap, in my opinion, actually work because it's based on how much revenue the league generates. Obviously, once the debt the players owe the owners is away, you'll see it go up. But the more it goes up, the ceiling the floor has to come up as well, so that way you're still putting on an NHL level product. Because we've seen with teams like the Coyotes, while they're still bad, most nights, if you're watching them play, you're still going to get at least decent hockey. Doesn't mean they're going to win, doesn't mean they're going to outskill you, but they are going to outwork you. So it's like you're still going to get an NHL level product, and that's what you need, and that's why I agree with a cap floor and ceiling both being together. Like, you have to have both. You can't have just a ceiling or just a floor. It has to be both. And I know I made that opposite. Anyway, Krause's value. I do want to talk about this because when that whole my fake trade last night was going on, I was DMing some people, and a fellow content creator was talking to me. He's like, look, I really think, I know you guys really want to keep Krause. I really think he would be a phenomenal fit on the Maple Leafs. I'd even be willing to throw in Matt Nyes and an extra first for him and Chychrun. And I'm like, okay, but you'd probably need to throw in an extra first because Chychrun himself is a first in Nyes. If you also want Krause, and this would essentially be a huge deal to where you're essentially transferring about $9 million. At that point, you might have to include like Nylander because you're going to have money coming out.
Yeah.
Because we're not retaining on a 5-year contract. But it's like, so let's say that trade happens. Let's say you're willing to, because for the right price, if your name is not Clayton Keller, Dylan Guenther, Logan Cooley, I think you're not expendable, but you're definitely available for the right price.
Yeah.
So it's Lawson Krause, Jakob Chychrun going to Toronto. You're looking at Toronto. If you want to bring up Toronto's cap friendly, you can. What is the minimum you think that deal looks like from Bill Armstrong's perspective? Because that is a massive deal. That's not a guy on a $1.5 million contract and a $4 like that. That's a big deal. Money going both ways.
Yeah. So let me pull the Coyotes real quick here. I'm gonna pull the contracts for each player. So you have Krause and Chychrun. Krause currently is making $4.3 million. Okay. And Chychrun is paying $4.6 million. Chychrun has 2 years after this year, and Krause has, 4 years after this year? Something like that. The total cap hit for that would be $8 million and 800,000. So $8,800,000.
Let's call it $9 million. Let's round up.
Okay, we'll round up to say that. So you're going to have to, let's see. They currently have a projected cap hit of $88 million. And what is the limit? $82 million. So they're currently using LTIR. Man, I don't even know how you move that. So you're going to have to move Kerfoot, who is at $3.5 million. Mm-hmm. That is active. You would have to move another person. I don't know if they want to move him, but Engvall is at 2.5 or 2.2 million.
Well, think about it like this: Krause's best role is in the top 6. Like we all know this.
Yeah,
his scoring will drop off if you play him third line. He'll score, but it will drop off. So think about it like this. That's why I bring up Nylander. If you essentially have a Krause for Nylander swap here, like so money can come in and come out, you still can include Kerfoot. Would that still be 2 firsts and Matt Nyes as well? Or is it, with Nylander being involved, you have to drop a first?
I think that Nylander is a very special asset. So I don't think they want to get rid of him, but if you're going to, like, his value to me probably is as close to Chychrun. I that's how I feel. Like, he's below 7 million, and currently he has 61 points in 54 games with almost 30 goals. Yes, he is a winger
coming to Arizona.
Yes,
that is true. You're not going to play with Austin Matthews, Jonathan Tavares, so like you do have to account for that, but he's still a damn good player. So do you essentially then want to chalk it up to Krause and Nylander or a 1-for-1 split, and then it's just a first and Nyes, and then maybe like a second for taking the extra bad contract, the Kerfoot contract, or a third or something.
Man, dude, there's so much moving into this deal. I would definitely say that I think that Nylander probably has more value than Krause. That's just my opinion. I think that both are wingers, yet Nylander is definitely doing more currently. Yes, you can say, oh, well, he's on a better team. Fine, but you just have to look at the asset as it is, right? Like, you don't know what Nylander is going to do when he gets the Coyotes. He could start scoring even more on the Coyotes because all of a sudden he's put on the first line with Keller. Like, you don't really truly know what the asset will do until they're on the team. You just have to look at it as it is now. And as it is now, I would say Nylander's probably more valuable. Not probably, he's definitely more valuable than Krause.
So then it's a Chychrun for Nylander 1-for-1.
I think that would be closer. I think that you could see like a Chychrun for Nylander and like a second or a prospect. I don't know if Nyes would be that prospect. I still think that he has a lot of value.
You got to throw in the Nyes.
Yeah.
The Nyes that would be for Krause then.
I'm working out the first part of this deal, though. I'm working out like what would get Chychrun for Nylander. Like, I think that closer to a 1-for-1 would be the option. Now, this is like value for value. For what the Coyotes actually want, I don't see why they would want Nylander. They want young assets. Nylander is going to be an unrestricted free agent in 2 years and absolutely could be like, I don't want to play here. I'm walking. Like, there's no reason the Coyotes would take Nylander.
So they make it a 3-team deal, and then someone else takes Nylander. We take the assets. So let's say it's an extra first and a second or something, right? Mm-hmm. Do you think that gets it done then? Because the money has to come out.
Yep.
And then I'm assuming another team maybe swaps another contract going to the Coyotes, so all the money works.
Yep.
And then everyone like gets what they want. So essentially, because the amount of moving parts it would require, it either means we have to take all of Toronto's bad contracts and we'll get like 3 first-round picks, or it involves Nylander going to a different team and it's like he has to have this big, massive 3-team deal.
Yeah, I think that realistically, if Nylander was a moving piece in that trade, he would not be a Coyote. I think that there would have to be a 3-team deal. I don't see Nylander being really at really any value for the Coyotes. That's just not an asset they need. Not saying that Nylander's bad. I just don't think it's an asset that they personally need.
He's a win-now player. We're a team that's still rebuilding.
Yeah.
Like, let's say if it was in the off-season the trade happened, he'd have a little more value because the Coyotes want to start getting better. But even then, it's still not going to be... You're 1 year away from free agency, like unrestricted.
Yeah.
It's like you could lose your ass in that deal.
Yep. Super hard. Super hard. And that's why I think that if you're going to go after anyone, I think you would be going after Nyes. Nyes plays with Logan Cooley, currently in college. He's... Arizona product. Obviously, he would want to play here. He lives here. He trains here in the offseason. Like, that's an asset that you absolutely would be putting your foot down if you're the Coyotes. Whether that's, like, at the end of the day like, if it's just Chychrun, not Chychrun and Krause. If it's just Chychrun, I think that as much as it sucks, I think that a first and Nyes, I think, would even potentially get...
I don't even think that sucks. It sounds like it sucks because, we want all these extra assets. We want 3 first-round assets. I'm like, yeah, like, it sounds like it sucks, but it's also the same thing to me as the Krause deal we were talking about, the Krause contract. It sounds high, or it sounds bad, or it sounds like this, but it really isn't. Because imagine we go out there, the first line next year is Keller, Cooley, and Nyes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how many games we win, that's going to be exciting. That is going to be a good line. You're going to need to work out some kinks. There's going to be some bad turnovers. You're going to lose a couple of games because of that line. It's still going to be an exciting line to watch.
Yep.
Or even Gunther on that line as your second line, so you take a little bit of pressure off them to not baby them, but to kind of let them ease into it. And then if you want to put like Krause up with Keller or Michelli up with Keller for a little bit, you can. However you want to mess with it. But that's still a lot of good young players. So a first and Nyes I would take for Chychrun, and then of course we'd have to take back. Would it be Kerfoot? Kerfoot's the contract we have to take.
Yeah,
back?
I think you'd have to, because he's like the one that's the active player that makes kind of the most that could go. It's $3.5 million. You
so
also have
him,
Pierre
another
Engvall.
contract and like a second for the trouble, and then there you go. Just kind of call it a day because Nyes really is like he's good. He's good.
Yeah, to me, it just screams Kerfoot at almost $4 million. You know, it's pretty close to money in, money out for them.
So
if you
also, like I said, you take one additional contract. Like if they have an expiring like $1.5 million contract, you take that. There you go. Toronto gets a little more cap space. We take on a little bit more. The second round pick makes it worth it. Who cares? Like it is what it is.
Yeah, and if you have to move like an asset as well to get it done if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, like Sandin is making $1.4 million. I know that I've heard him get tossed around there as a potential asset that would go in as well. He is a first round asset, but he's pretty late at 29th. And
I mean, hell, I would even take that as your third first round asset because it's like, yeah, I know he's not like the reason why. And here's what I'll tell everyone: pay attention to as many opposing fans as you can, because if they're constantly throwing X player's name into trade speculation, they're okay with moving on. Like even us, again, we love Bukestad, we love Chychrun, we love Ghost. We are 100% okay with them leaving. Obviously, we're on a rebuild, but if you're on a team that's contending and you're like, oh, I can lose this player, it's like, yeah, they might not be very good, or they might need to be a reclamation project. Or it could be, hey, let's just say, for example, Sandin just can't cut it in Toronto. Comes here, reinvigorates his game, let's say, what is he? Is he an expiring contract this year?
No, he's super young. Sandin is only 22, so he's an RFA after his next year.
After next year, all right. I just wanted to know the contract ends. So he's right on the borderline of prospect and project. In about a year, that transitions over. So he might just need to change his scenery, reinvigorates his game, whatever. So then you take a chance on a guy that you still have control over with the RFA status, and let's say everything works out really well here. He'd be 23. You can then sign him to like a 5-year extension and try to keep it as cost control as possible because, he works out really well on our defense. Maybe that kicks out Juuso Välimäki. Maybe it kicks out X player or Y player. No idea. That's why you keep your cap as flexible as you can for as long as you can. And if that's your third first-round asset, I'll take the chance. Because it's still a young defenseman, and we need that. Because Dyson Mayo doesn't belong in the NHL. I don't hate the guy. I don't know him as a guy. He doesn't belong in the NHL. I didn't see how Soderstrom played last night. I don't particularly care. Soderstrom can still play in the AHL for the rest of the year. I'd rather have an NHL defenseman.
He did. I hear Soderstrom, he was like a last-second call-up, and I think he only got like 2 hours of sleep playing in that game. And he landed in like St. Louis at like 5:30, and the game was at 6. So it was quite a rush for him. So anything from last
with him.
Probably, yeah. I would say that anything from yesterday from Soderstrom, like I would take it with a grain of salt. It's hard to.
It's also why, like I said, he can just play in the AHL the rest of the year. Like I don't really care if he played well, didn't play well. Like it is what it is, kind of a thing. But it's like that's where my mind goes there. I'm like, let him finish out the season. I'd rather take Sandin, and if Sandin is just that last little bit that needs to get the money moving, and Sandin would act as the extra second round asset or whatever to move that Kerfoot contract, do it. Because if you're at the end of the day, you're still getting a first, Nyes, and a young defenseman that can step in immediately and play in your top 4.
Yep. Yeah,
Like,
I think
I don't care what his holes are in Toronto. A lot of players come to Arizona and just play better.
Yeah, I think that if you're going to make this trade with the Maple Leafs. First of all, you're not putting Krause in there.
It's too much money. It's hard to make it work.
Yeah, either that or you're going to overpay super hard. I think that if you're the Coyotes, you make them pay over super hard. We're talking like 2 firsts for Krause. That amount of overpay just for him, not even including anything else that would be coming back in the Chychrun.
And yes, I can already hear you screaming, "Oh, that's so unreasonable." I know, but the small markets don't care about reasonability when it comes to big markets.
We're not handing you players for nothing.
Players. Krause, literally, they only sell 2 customized jerseys at the games, and it's Keller and Krause.
Yep.
Krause has become that important to the market, to the team, to the locker room. They're going to make you overpay.
Every single fan on this team has been screaming that if we're going to name somebody captain, it's Lawson Krause. Mm-hmm. So, yes, future Coyotes captain. Write that one down, Maple Leafs fans. Future Coyotes
captain. Both of our future captains, because Chychrun was supposed to be the future captain too. So they want both of our future captains. Like, I get it, and I do understand you were just curious to see what the value would be. Individual, friend of mine, but it would.
You're not getting him for nothing.
It would be a lot. Like it would be a lot.
It's not like just toss Krause in as like a shoe-in piece. Like that's not happening. It's not
the amount of. Krause and Chychrun, and it's like you just get the bad players. Like he's just a throw-in, and like the way I hear, especially Maple Leafs and Oilers fans in particular, talk about Krause, it's whenever they're talking about the deal, it's he would be a pretty good fit, so you go ahead and throw him in there so we can have a little more bolstering on the depth, but they don't give anything back for him, and it's like they don't even realize how much he makes.
Yep.
Yep. And they'll also then say what a good player he is. And I think it was Boston College, one of the teams that it was a Coyotes game, and then the next night it was ASU playing one of the colleges. So a bunch of their players were watching the game. I only recognized because they were wearing some team-branded stuff. Mm-hmm. And a couple of the kids were walking out talking about how, like, oh my God, Lawson Krause is really good. So I'm like, people at all levels are seeing how good Krause is, getting to see him play more. Yep. In a more prominent role. Like, he's not a throw-in. Maybe, if we're talking 3 years ago, you could have made an argument you could try to throw him in. He still would have been young, so you still could have been like, you don't give up on that, but that's the only time I would have seen it as somewhat coherent. This is not coherent. This is just dumb.
Yep. And, you could make the argument like, okay, well, he only has like 17 goals and 12 assists. But at the same time, like, he lost his line mate. Like, he lost his very, very valuable line mate, which is Matthias Michelli, due to injury. Those two were absolutely bullying, second and third lines on other teams. They weren't facing top line talent, but they were facing a lot of second, third, fourth lines, and they would absolutely bully those other lines. Look,
Krause is scoring more again now that Michelli's back in the lineup.
Yep. Was surprised.
When you get those complimentary players, you get a Ray Whitney, Martin Hansel, and Radim Verbata start going off. Furby was already good, but Ray Whitney really helped elevate that. You get a Taylor Hall and Connor Garland start scoring more goals. You get a Matthias Michelli, and it's almost like you need that natural passer. And and look at how good, let's say, Schmaltz and Keller have been together. And especially, I don't know if it's just a post-All-Star game break thing. They've always been good, but I feel like sometimes it tapers off a little bit, then it activates back on. They've combined for 10 points in the last 2 games?
Yeah, something like that. I think Keller
it's stupid.
I think Keller has 7 points in the past 2 games, I want to say, is the stat. They've been playing really well. I wanted to go back to the trade. So what I see happening for Chychrun if he was to go to the Maple Leafs, I think that Kerfoot absolutely has to be in the deal to make it get done. I think ultimately what you would see is Kerfoot, Sandin, Nyes, and a first. I think that gets the deal done. Kerfoot's really not any value. He's negative value. And then because of that negative value, that gets you Sandin, and then Knives in the first kind of gets you Chychrun.
And that's a haul.
Mm-hmm.
Like does Kerfoot have 1 or 2 more years left? Just that way we know.
1 year, 1 year until
1 year.
UFA.
All right, so he can just then you let him go. Maybe he provides some value and you re-sign him to play on the fourth line, and that's it. But maybe not. Probably not. Don't care. I'm looking at it for Sandin because we can use another defenseman. And like you were saying, and as much as I try not to pay that much attention to it because we do have some decent defensemen in the system, we have a very big lack. We have a lot of really good forwards in the system. A couple of decent goalies, but we're at the point where we need a couple more. Defense, I feel like we need at least three more really good young defensemen. So you throw Sandin in there, and it helps to alleviate that issue, and that's what you need. So it's like, hey, that's useful, and even if he's not as good as we need, it's still someone that could play second or third pair minutes. That's fine. And then for Chychrun, like you're essentially getting that first and Nyes, and just the prospect of Nyes and Cooley playing together. That's enough to get that done. Hell, I'll still stand by it. The Coyotes should make this trade, and then nudge, nudge, wink, wink, hint, hint at Nyes and Cooley transferring to ASU to play with Donor. There we go, my soapbox. Bring all the boys home. Play in the mullet regardless.
I don't think those two are going to be in the college, the college
Cooley
circuit next year.
He said he wants 1 year. Like he's I'm playing 1 year and I want to be in the NHL.
I don't even think Nyes is going to continue on. The way he's playing down there, I think he's going to move into the NHL as well.
Imagine this deal gets done. The Coyotes draft lottery, they finish 5th.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they can take that and this Toronto pick and move up to like second to get Fantilli, or third to get Fantilli if Leo Carlson goes second?
If you fall to 5th, I don't think you're getting up into the top 3 at all. I think the top 3 are so head and shoulders above everything else that I don't think that they'll move. Unless, here's my caveat, unless somebody who wins that top 3 is a lottery team. So let's say it's a team that just fell out. I don't know. I don't even know who's out. The Nashville Predators. I think they're in, but I'm just good.
The Blues are
okay.
Just
there you go. The Blues.
Line. Let's take the Blues. Oh, we could use Fantilli, or we can use the 5th overall pick and a second first round asset to help with our retool to have more assets.
Yeah.
And the Coyotes just want to move up a couple of spots because somebody might bring up, oh, you were mad that the Coyotes gave up a second round pick to move up a few spots to get Soderstrom. I was, because there wasn't a reason to move up. Because you had better players available that would have made this team better right now than Soderstrom's making this team. But also, Soderstrom literally, like most people see him as a bust, even though he's not quite. Fantilli or Carlson are not going to be generational, but they are definitely franchise potential. And would you pay a 25th overall pick to move up to get a franchise player?
I don't think that a 25th is going to be the only thing that you'd have to pay in order to get up there.
Well, let's just say
if you're going to, I'm going to make this I'm going to make this more real and a little bit harder for you.
All right.
Let's say we have the 5th, right? Mm-hmm. The St. Louis Blues have the 2nd. No, I'm going to be even more generous. I'm going to say the 3rd. They have the 3rd, yeah. So it's Leo Carlson that we're looking at here. Would you trade our 5th? Let's say the Maple Leafs actually make it out of the first round this year, and we're going to go with like the 26th overall pick and Matthias Michelli.
Swap to get up to for Geeky, and I'll make the deal. I love Connor Geeky. This is nothing against him. But I think Carlson might actually get his value above Fantilli to have a shot near Fantilli. And regardless, you're still getting a franchise potential player. Love Geeky. I would throw him in to make that deal happen. It's not a second thought. That's why you draft the best available or who you think is the best available. Because if that is then an extra asset and you really... I want Adam Fantilli. We're 5th overall. We want to move up and get Adam Fantilli. And GMBA is head over heels. Like, just infatuated with Fantilli. That's what you have that extra asset for. Because, hey, if we need to, we can move it. And if we don't need to, bonus. damn good young player in our system.
Yeah, I could see that. You're getting or 2 extra first round assets to move up a few spots. It could be. It could be.
I just want to know who's going second, because Fantilli's been the lead, but I've heard a lot of good things about Carlson. Do you think Carlson actually closes the gap, or do you think Fantilli has it in the bag?
So the problem that I see with Carlson versus Fantilli, I think neither of them are going to be Bedard. Obviously, Bedard is going to be number 1. It's not even a maybe. Like, he is absolutely going to be number 1.
Number 1.
The matureness to him, the way he acts, the way he plays, everything screams number 1. The reason why we saw Shane Wright drop is because of potential attitude problems, right? Like that could be why he dropped. Excuse me. The reason why I think Fantilli won't be surpassed by Leo Carlson is that Fantilli has much more of a man's body than Carlson does. I think that Carlson still needs
conversation, boys.
Yeah, I think Carlson still needs a little bit of time before he has that man strength. But I think that Fantilli has that man strength, and that's what's going to kind of put him over the edge. Is that a team is going to look at that and go, both these assets are identical, but this one's more NHL ready than this one. Like, I think that they're always going to point towards the more NHL ready one.
Well, doesn't Fantilli play center a lot?
I think
they
both
value centers over wingers.
I think both play center.
I thought you said Carlson played wing.
No, I think he plays center as well.
Oh, well. Regardless, I want Adam Fantilli.
Yeah, I would be super happy with Fantilli. I think that you'd be very excited to get Fantilli.
And I know you're supposed to say you want Bedard. I do want Bedard. I finally gotten myself to come down a little bit from essentially detoxing, not watching any of his highlights, and just coming down to looking at it realistically. We are not worse than Columbus and Chicago.
No, not even close.
We're just not. This team is better than everyone gives them credit for. I said it last year. People looked to be cross-eyed, and they got the exact number of wins that I said they were going to get. there you go. And this team is better.
Although I will say, if the Coyotes do trade all those assets, so they trade Chychrun, Bugstad, Ghost, and then also another mystery prize over here, Karel Vejmelka.
Mm-hmm.
The wheels could fall off this. The wheels could fall off this train.
Me? Huh?
I've
been on it for a while that he's too good right now. And
yeah, I was never against you.
Franchise goalie. So it's like, hey, if you have the high value, if someone offers you a first or a second and like a B prospect or like a second and a third, I'm taking it because we got him for free.
Yeah. I think that I was expecting this team to suck a lot more. And I was thinking, all right, well, Vejmelka wasn't going to be like that good this year. But he's been really good this year.
It's the consistency, because he didn't have that consistency last year. And at the start of the season, we were seeing him get blown up a lot. Like last year, there was he stops 45 shots or he lets in 6 goals, and there was no in between. They got 1 or 2 from Melkas. Start of the year, you got that, and then he just got consistent. And even when we're losing, he's posting like a 902 to a 910.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Anyways, I think we should probably call it.
You want to call it with one last little send off? Do you see this nice little jersey I'm wearing? This nice little Jackery McBain. They sent me the new one, and it was only slightly disgusting. So that's sitting in the closet. I'm just gonna start wearing the trash one everywhere because they never said I had to send it back. So, thanks for your incompetence. It got me a free jersey, I guess.
There you go. Boom, bam.
Hey, could we get Jack McBain to sign it though? I need.
You might be able
McBain
to.
sign this. I don't know because like they don't do fan events anymore. Well, they do like season ticket events, and I'm not a season ticket holder, but it's like they don't do a lot of the fan fest stuff or the stuff they did before seasons before. Like when we were hanging out that one day, they don't do that anymore.
They do the red carpet at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, but only like a handful of people can get to the front, and by the time I showed up and I was there, a couple hours early, I couldn't get to where the players were, so I was like kind of stuck in the back.
You just force your way in with the jersey. You're like, yo, I'll move. Let me get in on this McBain action.
Hey, mustache man, I got a mustache. Will your mustache sign my mustache?
Do you imagine? Just chucks the pen up into his mouth while Stash starts writing.
Oh my god, we're getting blocked. If McBain's got a burner, he's blocked us both right now.
True. That's all right. He's got a manly man's mustache. I can't grow F all.
But it's like you can't get a duster going, boys. The caterpillar just crawls away every time you try to grow it.
Yeah, I just end up shaving because it looks like crap. So.
Hey, you know what? It's fine. You got a little bit of the 16-year-old gamer face. It's good. I mean, you're gonna look younger than I am. I'm pretty sure. I already apparently look 30 to a lot of people, so I'm a little terrified of that.
There you go. It's all downhill from here.
Dude,
back the feet, the feet, the D's. Everything is gonna be hurting.
I think like 2 weeks ago, I was looking around at this pawn shop for some used games because I'll let my secret out a little bit because no one listens this far in. I buy every couple paychecks like 4 or 5 copies of Sneak King or other like really cheap Xbox 360 or PS3 games that are brand new that nobody wants, just so I can have a brand new case to harvest. So instead of having to pay $50 for a brand new copy of like Digimon All-Star Battle, whatever the hell, I could try to get a $20 used copy and then a $5 new copy of Sneak King. There you go. It'll look nice on the shelf and won't ruin all my nice cases there. So I was looking for games at a pawn shop, and my back was just spazzing. It was just a bunch of pain. It hurt when I went to work later that day. I'm like, what is going on? I am not that old.
Why don't you just buy the cases online?
Because I can't ever confirm what I'm buying, because some people will just sell the cases, but they're all used cases that aren't in good condition. And then I can't fully determine if I can actually, like, if they're actually brand new, clean cases. Because when I had this big gaming collection back in high school, I would throw used games on with the brand new games, and it would make the brand new games have this weird, like, feeling to it. And I hate that. So now if I put a game on the shelf, it has to be in a brand new case. Like, it has to be brand new, shiny case. And unlike with PS2 games, I can't just go to Dollar General and buy a random movie, toss the disc out walking out of the store, and there you go, I got a PS2 case.
I see on Amazon Xbox 360 game cases, 10 of them for $25.
But do the pictures look new? Because I see the same thing on eBay, but I've seen some of them where they still have like Zia tags or GameStop tags.
No, these are brand new with no paper.
Straight up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Send me a link,
I don't know.
dog.
Okay.
Send me a link. My wife's got the Amazon account. I don't.
I find everything on Amazon, man. Just Amazon everything, all right? Let Bezos become the corporate overlord that he is.
Not reopen an Amazon account. I use eBay for everything.
Let the corporate overlord into your heart, okay?
I will literally. I won't even install Facebook on my phone. I will use the Google Chrome app, the web browser, to then go on Facebook that way because I'm paranoid.
All right.
I don't want that malware on my phone.
Well, with that being said, we're going to take this conspiracy theory train straight off a cliff and end that episode there. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate y'all listening this far in, and we'll see you next week.